Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. Of course, I'm Richard Lewis, and you'll notice over the last few episodes, we've been darting between the old school of esports, the new school of esports. Well, in this episode, we're going to go way back because I got one of the OGs. It is Michael Odie Odell. I've known him, I think we met in 2005 for the first time at an I-Series, most likely. Yep. So look, we're gonna really get into the weeds. Thanks a lot for being here, brother. It's been a while. How's your current life panning out in esports?
I'm loving it. I'm still heavily involved. So I'm now part of RekTGlobal, which is basically Rogue and London Royal Ravens. And I'm doing the stuff that I've loved doing for years, and that's finding talent, helping teams get better, and hopefully win some tournaments. That's all I've ever wanted to do. It's all I ever wanted to do when I started in esports anyway. And that's what I'm doing. Love it. And yeah, sorry I was late this morning. I was trying to find my bloody Didn't Happen t-shirt. And I think I just throwed it. I know it had a bleach stain on it.
Anyway, don't worry about that.
Another one.
I appreciate it. Look, we have to do another round of merch. I need to get in touch with Chloe and do some new stuff, I think. But yeah, look, I want to talk about RekTGlobal because I don't know if I'm losing my touch, because I was kind of I got in contact with someone the other day, like just catching up, shooting the shit, and realized that they were over there now. And then I was sort of like looking into it, and I was like, fucking hell, they've got loads of people. Like, it's not just Odie. They've got all these other people I know from esports. So tell us a little bit about the organization. I mean, mostly for me, if I'm being honest with you, because I've sort of not had my eye on that particular ball.
Yeah, so the founder, Amish Shah, he's our chairman, and then our CEO is Dave Bilek. So they founded the company in 2017. And they had a vision to build a company around and in esports, from the competitive side and all the stuff in the background that goes on. So what they wanted to do is create a company which is a one-stop solution for anyone coming in, where someone wanted to run an event, we can run an event. Someone wants to come in and know the best way to market in esports, we do that too. So one of our clients, State Farm, for example, they sponsor the LCS. Keep getting MCS mixed up again. And yeah, so Norton, companies like Norton. And then we have a fan engagement platform, obviously the esports teams. But yeah, the people that are in the company, a big reason for me joining. Right. So my direct boss is Anna Bauman, who people might know as an esports lawyer.
One of the original esports lawyers as well.
So she's here. One of the managers, Thomas Fly, he's here as well. Kevin Nocky is at RekTGlobal. Yep. So I was instantly interested as soon as I started watching what Rogue were doing, just towards the end of what I was doing in Dignitas. And I was like, I want to be doing what they're doing. I think the thing that really woke me up about RekTGlobal was, I think it was in Las Vegas. Can't remember what it was, but Steve Aoki did a concert. I think it was the Twitch party, and Steve Odie was doing a concert, and I was like, how is this even happening? So when I got the chance to join them, literally 24 hours after leaving Dig, I joined them. Their vision was exactly what I was hoping for. I won't say at the beginning when I started in esports, definitely not. Probably in the late stage of Dignitas, this is what, okay, we need to go to the next level. Like, you can burn all the money you want in esports, but you've got to make money. And their vision, what they told me, how they're going to make money and what they're going to do, I was like, I'm in. So I literally signed 24 hours after leaving Dig, which was kind of mad.
Yeah, well, a big change for you. I mean, obviously, for those that don't know and maybe don't know a bit of the history, obviously Dignitas have been around for a long, long time. They were founded, what was it, 2003?
Yep. September the 9th.
Yeah, I know you remember it. So it's a crazy amount of history that they've had, and across multiple games. I mean, they were one of the original orgs that like pioneered what we now think of as kind of like the MGO model, breaking away from the traditional, you have a team and that's sort of it. But let's talk about the sale, because obviously the Philadelphia 76ers, when there was a wave of sports teams coming in and buying esports properties, Dignitas were one of the acquisitions for the Philly 76ers. And obviously, you're the founder, you're the owner, you're the guy who had to sell. Was that a difficult choice?
Oh yeah, it was a strange situation that seemed to take forever as well. Like, I've never sold a company before. Even at the time, like we always hoped that someone would come in and like buy us. We always hoped for that, and like, yeah, we're going to make money and it's all going to be cool. You just don't, unless you've done it, you have no idea like what's involved. And the due diligence process took a year. And when you're going through due diligence, you can't do much else. You can't really change anything major, because the potential buyer doesn't want to see major change, because they want to come in and do what they want to do. So that last year was like really awkward in all sorts of ways, because I couldn't invest in things. I couldn't get new teams. There was a process of like talking through it with them, like, this is what I need to do. It's like, no, put that on hold. So when I got that first email, it was probably around, I think, probably Christmas 2015. I thought it was a joke. I did. Like, I wasn't expecting it. And I think I emailed back and said, like, yeah, how do I know this is like the real thing? And then I got a call from Scott O'Neill, who's since left the Sixers, but he was the whole boss. Fantastic guy, highly intelligent guy. And yeah, he just talked me through what they were thinking, what they wanted to do, and I was like, okay, this is going to take me to another level. It's where I want to be. At that time, also, investors were coming into the space, but nobody had bought a team. There were teams with like investment money, and the salaries were starting to get ridiculous. And
especially like, over in League of Legends, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the landscape there, the salaries went up triple in like one season, and it's like, hang on, we haven't got the money to do this. And all through running Dig, like, I know there's jokes about mouse pads and things like that, but I didn't spend money I didn't have. And yeah, there was a bit of debt there, but I was very lucky that I was able to control it to a point where when I sold to the Sixers, the debt was gone, literally gone, which was a relief. And not many people know, but yeah, I'm married. I got 3 kids. The whole reason I did this, is for my family. So it was a okay. How much are we going to get? Okay, that pays the debts, and we got some money. How does it work? But in that year, like, lots of things went wrong. We got relegated from bloody LCS. Like, it's like, get out. What do you do? So I went to Coast, spoke to them, and we teamed up and we presented the deal to the Sixers, and Coast became the league team, and we moved forward. But then, obviously, at that time, we didn't know franchising was coming, so that got interesting. But by that time, the Sixers were completely in control.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I don't want you to divulge the particulars. I'm never crass enough to talk about money. But I'm guessing, your share, your portion, life-changing amounts of money we were talking about, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like I'm lucky to have a few millionaire friends, not because I hang out with millionaires. It's like some of the people in esports have actually made money.
Yeah.
And one in particular who helped me a lot was Dominic, who did Gamerbase, basically.
Yeah.
And the best bit of advice I got is like, once you sell your baby, it's gone. Right? Once you lose, you don't have control. You've got to understand that anything can happen. So you've got to be happy with that initial deal. Like the cash you get tomorrow, it could be like, you could be out, you could be gone. So I thought, hang on, am I happy with this amount? Yes, I'm happy with this amount. plus it means that my team can move on to the next level. So yeah, we did it. So yeah, obviously I can't mention numbers. I won't mention numbers anyway.
Yeah.
But after 15 years of like serious hard work, like people will never understand. Like I think that last year it felt like I was sitting in my underpants and t-shirt at my desk for a year. That's what it felt like. But like all of the stuff leading up to that, the thousands of tournaments, like the thousands of pounds we spent going around places, wasn't the reason that we sold it. Like I just wanted to, okay, now we can compete again.
Well, let's talk about that next level as well, because I mean, you were still involved, after the sale, but I always get the sense that, and again, correct me if this is not your perception. I think the identity of Dignitas at that time, shortly after the acquisition, I think it became a bit muddled and confused. It didn't seem to really be going. It was like they were in a fucking lake and just going around in a circle, Every time I saw like a player acquisition or a team acquisition, it was a little bit underwhelming. And it kind of looked from the outside that the new ownership and some of the new managers that came in maybe didn't really have an understanding of exactly what they needed to do to be successful in the new look esports landscape.
Yeah, I would agree. So some of the stuff that happened was I was involved for sure, but then there's a reason for anything they did, everything they did. Some things like all teams, sometimes you just make mistakes. Some things they did were good, but for me personally, over the period of that 2 years, I was less and less involved doing it my way. And I just one day I had enough. I just like I'm wasting away here. I'm playing too much PUBG, and we did a deal, and I was lucky that they were okay with that, and they also allowed me to go and work for anyone else the next day, which literally that's what happened. So I got no bad qualms with it. Like I think anyone that sells like what you've created. It's sad, like if you walk away from it, but you only live once. That's the way I look at it. My outlook on life is really, I'm optimistic all of the time. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but they're still there, they're going, they're running. I still see they changed the logo twice. The original logo is still the best logo, I'm not gonna lie. I've tattooed with it, so I have to say that, but no, I'm serious. Like the original logo is the better logo. And good luck to them. That's what we said, and they said good luck to me. And now I'm in a good place. Shit happens.
So I mean, look, all the other owners I've talked to about this, because I've obviously, I'm friends with a lot of people that own esports teams or owned esports teams, and built up brands from the ground up back in the early days. And I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think I know one who, after they've sold, they sort of like they always end up regretting it on some level. And so is that kind of, I mean, do you have that prevailing kind of sentiment about it all? Like, I mean, sure, you're happy, sure, you've got the money, that's all great, you've got a new job, cool, but I mean, ultimately, Dignitas is you're not involved, and it's somebody else's.
I think that's fair to say. I think that's just human nature. Once you lose control and you're not driving the ship that you built, I think that's pretty natural. It's like some of the teams that we stopped doing, like Trackmania. Still like that one, big regret for me, because that I think we had, I don't know, 10 plus world champions in that game. Tiny little game. It's still going now. I think that's fair. Like I look at all my peers that have actually done this, but I think we all had the same belief that it had to happen, because esports is just growing so fast. You look at any other industry, nothing really grows this fast, and it's still in its infancy, like 25 years in. Once you get the big business in, just look at the deals, the value of some of the deals, like the one announced last week. It's mind blowing. but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, that's a broader question. I mean, how do you feel about the economics of esports right now? And I think you're a good person to get a perspective from, because, again, just for context, you've lived through 2 esports bubbles, as I have. You've been there when they popped and sort of had to pick up the pieces. You were one of the guys that stuck around to build up from scratch again, like some of us did. And right now, there's another idea that we are not a sustainable ecosystem. We're burning through so much money. Everything's overvalued. Salaries are massively inflated. The audience doesn't pay for anything. And so, I mean, right now it feels like the people that are coming in are speculators rather than builders, and I in my mind, I think actually we're really financially far ahead of where we actually are in terms of what price tag people are slapping on things.
Yeah, it's a really complicated scenario. It's like, and it's not new to esports. Like, God, back when was it Meet Your Makers? Like, was that 2006? Like, suddenly dropped $1 million, and like people won 10 grand a month, and completely unsustainable. I think it's like it's the business plans, like what's behind it. Like some of the investments, like that, some people have just got a lot of money and they don't mind spending it. That's one way of looking at it. For RekTGlobal, for example, like they have a clear business plan on where they're going, what they're spending, the investment that's come in. We're actually making money, and that's the sustainable side of what I want to see, which is why I joined them. Because, like you said, we've seen all of these power plays, and that's what most of them are, where the salaries go through the roof, and some scenes the salaries are not sustainable. And I always avoided that, purely if I knew what I knew. Like, hindsight is so easy. If I knew back in 2015 what I know now, if I knew that amount of money was out there to get investment, I didn't know it then, just did not know, which is probably naive. But now I know what I know. I think there's going to be adjustments through a lot of this stuff, but I can only see it growing. I just can't see it stopping at this point.
I think overall the line goes up, right? Sure. What I'm worried about is what a blip or an aberration, like a post CPL or a post CGS landscape. Prior to this acquisition by the Saudi Arabian government, ESL could have just, it's not inconceivable they go out of business. It's not inconceivable they sell at a reduced price to someone that doesn't want to keep the lights on. These were realistic outcomes that could have happened. So I always think about, when we do hit that road bump, what's going to happen and how cataclysmic it'll be and how long it'll take to get us to get the line to go up again.
Yeah, like I said, I'm probably too optimistic. The fan acquisition and getting people to pay, that's the hard bit now, because we've been spoiled for so long where it's all free. I think the MTX model for a lot of teams is like the main real thing that actually exists, where there's teams are making money. But it's like, when we go back, the world goes back to normal and we're back in stadiums again. It's like people paying ticket money and like media rights, like real sport, that will be paying for most things. My view on that hasn't changed. Obviously, we've seen everything, even going back to CGS, when we thought, yeah, this is it, we've made it, we're on TV, and okay, that didn't work. I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer to this, I would have done it. All I can say is I know what we're doing as a company, and where we have many parts of RekTGlobal that are making money now in esports and gaming and the wider world. Like our media buying company, for example, the pure genius buying that company. Optimistic.
Sure.
One day we'll give you the answer.
Is there any money you know, because again, right now the big hot topic is talking kind of about like this kind of, you know, the ethical aspects to the money that come in the space. And it's not just, we're not just talking about Saudi Arabia here. We're not just talking about the Chinese government here. There's other aspects to it, you know, in the sense that a lot of people feel that gambling sponsorships by waiver, for instance, is potentially unethical and harmful, depending on your attitude, depending on your audience. I'm sure you've watched from afar, you know, the massive resistance to NFTs, and yet esports teams are going ahead and launching NFTs and you know, much to the chagrin of the fans.
For me, like the NFT, I'm not sure why there is resistance to NFTs.
Okay.
So when I had a real job, I used to work in the collectibles world. But the NFT space now, it's the 21st century stamp collecting thing. People like to collect stuff. So the NFT stuff, I don't understand why people could even get angry about that. It just gives so many options to buy a collectible that can be added onto forever. Yeah, I don't understand that. But yeah, money's coming in from all sorts of places now. We're into the real world now. There's real world money, real world companies. I say real world. We often use that term. I think
we can stop doing that now. I think.
Yeah, I know. It's the original esports people, like the real world. That was just kind of a normal thing to say. I need to stop saying that. We're there now. There is money coming in from all sorts, all sectors. They're all like, they've worked out that these are not esports fans. They're not gaming fans. These are consumers. They've worked it out, and the big companies will want money, and they want to bring in money. That's what they are. They're companies. They need to make money.
Do we collectively need to do more to vet the sourcing of the money? And I say that specifically because we are, so we've got elements of entertainment in our business. We've got elements of sport in our business, but we are unique in the sense that I would say a larger portion of our audience compared to mainstream audiences are younger, are more vulnerable. In addition to that, I think we have a much more diverse audience, and people from communities that certain regimes around the world don't treat very favorably, to put it mildly. And so is it sort of going against the spirit of esports when we take money that is ethically compromised in some way?
Again, you always are. You're the only person that ever asks really hard questions.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
I don't have the answer to that, but what I do think is, I think esports is always behind. Governments never really see esports, and then like there's a lot of these deals, like they get like acquisitions in the business world. They'll be checked by some whatever like body checks big mergers and acquisitions and stuff like that. It doesn't happen yet in esports. Like it just doesn't happen. So at some point that's going to catch up. Like in England, for example, like a big thing happening in the education system is safeguarding and stuff like that. That will happen, and that's been touched on a little bit with the UK ETC.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
the group of teams that just trying to promote esports in the UK. That's been mentioned already. Like, how do we actually get involved with that kind of stuff? So I think the industry will naturally like regulate itself. In terms of like money coming in from whatever countries, I'm not going to get into that controversial conversation. All I know, again, go back to I'm optimistic. Like, I've been to Saudi Arabia. I went to Saudi Arabia 3 years ago. Fascinating place. I went to Comic-Con of all things in Saudi Arabia. And the one thing that strikes me, and it still to this day strikes me, is the amount of people, the actual people in Saudi Arabia that came up and said thanks for coming, because they don't have much, but a lot of stuff is appearing now for them. So if it helps the people, that's far more important to me. And not many, I haven't heard many people actually say that kind of stuff, because not many people get to go to Saudi Arabia. But it is just, it's not like you get out the airport and there's a massive city there, like with shops and stuff. It's just not like that. It's a big desert. It's actually striking driving through that desert.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't think people realize that, like, you know, sort of conceptually, the big cities in Saudi Arabia, it is like an oasis essentially. Like
it is,
yeah.
and some of them are westernized, like oases. Is that the word? And probably one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me in esports is sitting in a tent next to William Shatner at Comic-Con in Saudi Arabia. But there were thousands and thousands of people. They loved it. And they were playing games with us. So that's how I think of it. Like, I'd rather help the people. They're the ones that always get hurt.
Yeah. So look, we'll change tack. Let's get into something that I've always wanted to talk about a bit more. And I'll ask a question along this that's kind of topical, but I just want to start with a broad thing. So, I mean, I always got the impression that when you were operating at Dignitas and you were very hands-on with the League of Legends team, that there was a group of other owners that didn't really care for you because, much like myself, you're just a no bullshit kind of guy. You tell people straight. You don't necessarily play any political games because who's got time for that? And it seemed to me there was a lot of resistance, especially after the Philly 76ers acquisition, from what I always lovingly called the cartel, which for those who don't know, it's the unholy alliance of, you know, TSM, Cloud9, Team Liquid, and their respective owners. So I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of how difficult it was operating in a space where it felt like other team owners who ostensibly are your partners in a franchise league sort of working against you and are not very not very friendly, let's say.
So for me, franchising didn't come in until the Sixers had acquired them. So luckily, I think for me, it was tough, like 2012 to 2015. And like you said, I haven't got time for that. I bit mouthier back then, learned that like there's this thing called Reddit that makes a lot of noise if you upset anyone that they like. And I thought, fuck it, I can't be asked. Like now that the thing that I look at now is the companies and the owners and the ownership groups now, with all the teams, they're professionals. Like, this is what they do. So the old ways are gone. And I've banged heads a few times, as you know.
Yeah.
And it absolute waste of time. Absolutely fruitless. It's like, I'm always about inclusion. It's like one good thing that I did, I think, in that time of like twiddling my fingers, twiddling my thumbs, was actually talk to the UK teams and say, look, what are you doing? Like, I left a hole. I left you everything. What are you doing? So I think I hope I spawned the idea of the UK ETC, and that actually happens. And now they all talk to each other. They all know they have to help each other. They can't help each other commercially. That's not the thing. But
can you give us some insight into just sort of how ruthless it was? Because obviously, you know, I've talked a lot to Rick Fox, and I think he was really fucking surprised, you know, that he came in. He's a great ambassador for gaming, you know, obviously has mainstream appeal, got us a lot of positive attention, and yet people were so insecure in what they were doing, they actively went after him and tried to fuck him over behind the scenes. And it profoundly shocked him that people would do something like that. And of course, you and I know that's just another fucking day in esports, really.
Yeah, I like Rick. I got on well with him. Like I do with most people, I reach out and like, can I help? Been here a long time. Yeah, some people I just don't get on with, and I didn't get on with some of them, and that was it. Like anybody that pisses around in my world, like, it's like if you want to just cause me problems, I just don't want to know. I'll walk away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was like. It was just like being on the outside. That's kind of what it felt like in some things, but it didn't really affect anything. Just more for me, it's like why why be like obstructive? So yeah, so I didn't bother. So I just did my thing. Stuck around with my friends in the esports world, and that's it. Just ignored it.
Yeah.
So I can't really give you any like insight into like that.
No,
I know what you mean. It's hard to like. It's just hard to explain. It's like literally, I just can't be asked with.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm off.
So look, well, in that case, I apologize for sort of revisiting this, but it's topical because obviously Riot Games has said they're going to investigate Reginald. It's a toothless investigation. They're not going to do anything to Reginald or TSM. There'll be absolutely no punishment, but they are going to investigate him for bullying his staff, which it's kind of staggering to me that people don't know how he operates, given it's been caught on video like 4 or 5 fucking times. But anyway, there was a story I always remember, and I think it did blow up on Reddit, so I don't think I'm talking out of school here, but I believe that like it was there was some argument that happened at an owners meeting or something where Reginald wanted to poach, I think it was the Counter-Strike team.
I know, like, yeah, I remember that. It was
and he like squared up to you or some shit.
Well, I'll just square up to me, but he yeah, it was the owners meeting, and I walked in, and rather than like, "Hi, how are you?" it was like, "I'm gonna poach your Counter-Strike team." That was the first thing he said. Like, yeah, I've said that out loud before. And he did. Oh well. It's just a weird thing to say, like, to your friends, like. But at the time, we weren't paying them a lot. That's for sure, because the money wasn't there, and he doubled their salaries. So for that team, great, good job. And look, they're mostly still playing now.
But I mean, you know, did you find Reginald to be a difficult character to interact with?
Yeah. So I just didn't. It's that simple. Like I just could not be asked.
Because you know, I think it's kind of interesting. There's like there's a very different, like the owner's spectrum is insane, because you know you've got at one end of it like former players who were just kind of like nerdy gamer guys that through popularity of a team they play on or their own popularity, their skills, they end up blowing up. They parlay that into investment, and now they run a team. And very often, these are multimillionaires in their early 20s, which is always a recipe for disaster. And then at the other end, you've got guys like, you know, you who older, had real jobs, right?
Yep.
You know, lived a little, and obviously, you know, have a bit more of a level head. And then you all go into a room and you're equal. You know, you're all owners and you're all meant to be doing your thing. Do you think that's like a net positive for the industry, that there's kind of young adults, if you like, making huge multi-million-dollar business decisions?
I think it's just a weird situation, because League of Legends blew up so fast, and the fans, like, there was just so many fans. It's a real hard one. It's like now, like I said, like most teams like of that size have investment or got investment, and it's just totally different. It's not like it's not running a tuck shop in the local community center now. It's proper business. So yeah, it's weird, but like most things in my esports career, a lot of people made it up as they went along, because it just did not, like, stuff like that just hadn't happened before. So it was really weird. It's like even when Intel sponsored me back in 2005, and I was like, shit, I can actually stop working and do this full time. Like, it's just weird. But yeah, League, just look how successful it's been, and it's still successful. A long way it continued. Yeah, the good thing is there's still fans and new fans and more fans, and they'll keep coming. But back then, yeah, bit Wild West, and very interesting.
Yeah.
But again, if I can't work with someone, I just don't want to know.
So one other thing you talked about there as well was you talked about, you know, annoying Reddit and kind of getting that like pushback. Now, we're from a time when essentially esports sort of existed on like a few forums, and you had to know where to go and where to look, and you had to be part of a small community. And as the internet scaled up, obviously, like now, you know, people go to Reddit. Reddit itself interfaces with everything from like geopolitics to, you know, like you say, stamp collecting or whatever the fuck. And if something blows up, it gets mainstream negative attention now. It then gets circulated on Twitter and, you know, everything else. And so you've been in a few of these like public storms. You know, I remember there was one where it was like, is Odie unprofessional or something on Reddit?
Still annoys me, that one.
Yeah.
I think it's still there.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're never deleting anything that's bad about anyone ever. But yeah, and I think what happened? Didn't you get fined as well one time, and that blew up?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I called Monty a C. I'm not gonna say it again. Didn't even get to call him it. I actually typed it. It was one of the best sentences I've ever written, because he was slagging off my team at the time, and I never met him. I met him now, and like we're friends. I think I typed in, "Who are you, the new Messiah? Not in my universe, you dumb Yank C." Yeah, got fined. Hands up. Yeah, I shouldn't have done it. Like, but it just annoyed me at the time.
Yeah, but I don't think people realize it's like, because we're from that time, like that again would not have moved the needle back in the early Counter-Strike day. They would give a fuck about that. No one. I mean, you know, we used to shout that in each other's faces while we were playing, and then go get a beer afterwards. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, even when I did get fined, my wife said to me, "You're an idiot." I was like, "Yeah, thanks." And she's like, "There's three meanings in the UK, in the English dictionary. In America, it just means one thing."
Yeah.
So they reduced the fine when I explained that bit. But anyway, I shouldn't have done it. But yeah.
Did it teach you to sort of be a bit more less public facing? Because, you know, the way I've noticed that like celebrities and other people, the way they beat the game is they don't interact with the public. That way, you know, you can't ever do anything wrong. And like, you know, we've got a massive unchecked problem with mental illness that I say we're starting to see the fallout of it now, and the pandemic's turbocharged it. But where people seem to believe that like Twitter is like the most important fucking thing of all time, and anything you've ever tweeted ever is some sort of indictment on your eternal soul and will dictate whether or not you get into heaven. And of course, it's just another fucking internet forum, but everyone's delusional at the moment. So, you know, what I've noticed is a lot of popular people, the way you just beat the system and become essentially like uncancelable, you just never talk to anyone. You never say anything, you never express any opinions. If you don't tweet, you cannot be impugned by the broader community. And I did notice, like, pretty much, you know, it was like you used to be very outspoken and in front of a camera quite a bit, and again, like an ambassador kind of for what we do. And then I noticed that sort of stopped.
To be honest, it was actually that incident like made me think, do I need this shit? So being like what I said earlier, like, do I need this shit? Like, do I have to interact with this shit? Do I have to be like that person that makes that noise? Because again, don't forget, wife and family. And I think back then, like, mental health wasn't even being spoken about.
No.
And I'm from a generation where like that didn't exist. Like, it's like, you've fallen over and hurt yourself, get the fuck up and get back on with it. So yeah, did it probably affect my mental health? And I'm not the kind of person that actually thinks or worries about that. Probably, yeah, it did. Like, when you get that many like messages, death threats, like seriously death threats over something like that. When I think that incident, like, purely, like, I think even in that incident where I think I said I called Patoy a C, joking. It was a joke. He's a friend. And like in England and Australia, you call your friends that like every 2 seconds, to be honest, like, if you come from the real world. So yeah, I must admit, probably, it did affect me. And that was before like even any inkling of like investment or stuff like that. So I thought, do I really need this shit? Do I have to? Like, some of the stuff like I read back then, it's like, what am I reading? Like, where they got this? Where did that? How do you make that up? Like, I'm a writer.
There's a lot people don't get about being a a public figure. Even like, I consider us, like Z-list celebrities or whatever. Like it's but even that is it's a profound taste of something I wouldn't want more of, and that is that I'd like to wake up and go one day, just one day, without somebody on the internet lying about me. That would be a great day, but it doesn't happen. And the problem with social media is it creates this like cyclical, somebody tells a lie, someone sees the lie, they don't fact check the lie, they sit on that lie, it sits in their brain for like 3 months, then your name gets brought up again and they feel compelled to repeat the lie. And then so the lie sort of multiplies and distorts, and a year after the initial lie, it's now this much bigger lie, and it's like, it's absolutely ridiculous and out of control, and it's happened to me on a number of occasions. And it's just like, I see people say stuff about me that's patently false, and there's no way to ever correct it. And that, I think, I don't mind the abuse. I don't even mind the death threats, because when you get like death threats every day, you just sift through the ones, which ones are credible and which ones aren't. But the lies are what really fucking gets inside my head, because you feel powerless to sort of correct what people are saying.
And any new people coming in, they see it for the first time and then they believe it.
Yeah,
because that's what it says. That after that incident, because before that there was a couple of things with TSM. I think one where our team was playing USA versus Canada World Cyber Games qualifier, and League of Legends really didn't understand double LM. That blew up. Got messages for like a year about that one. And then the next one was another TSM one. I think it just does your head in. And like I really worry about like the players now, especially the players nowadays, because there's so much access to these guys. So it's one thing that we really take seriously in rep with all our teams, talking to the players and like explaining, like, don't react to anything, like think, and then like just talk to us. So we have sports psychologists that work with all of our teams. But for me back then, no help. It's just me on my own. It literally felt like me on against the world. And what I was trying to do, which is what I set out from day one, is like that original Team Dignitas Battlefield team, is to go back one day and give each of them a chunk of money, which I still haven't done and I want to do. But yeah, after that particular incident, I think somebody screenshotted about 7 things, like I said, in 2 hours. And sent it around all over the place. So the next day I was getting calls like, Odie, did you do this? Like, didn't do anything, like just typing. Unbelievable.
So look, let's rewind a little bit. Let's turn back the clock. One of the most fascinating moments in esports history for me is CGS. I always bring it up, Championship Gaming Series, for those that are new to the world of esports. And essentially, just to give everyone the Cliffs Notes, basically News Corp they saw esports was growing. They wanted to create a esports product for television. They came into the space with 60 million to spend and a 5-year plan. And essentially the thing completely crashed and burned within 2.5 years. And people basically found out that you literally, on the day that it collapsed, you woke up, the website was gone, and if you were in the loop, you had an email saying, we're closing down CGS, you don't have a job anymore. So it's one of the greatest stories. I want to make the ultimate documentary about it, so I'll see you for that when I do it. Sure. But like that, you have always had generally a good read on things. Like you said earlier, I don't spend money I don't have. There's never been, jokes about the mouse pads notwithstanding, there's never been like a story about Dignitas, like owing someone money, not paying the players. It's just never happened, which, given the longevity of the org, is phenomenal in and of itself in our business. So I just want to talk a little bit about your initial read on CGS when it was happening and when it was building up, because it seemed from where I was completely fantastical.
Yeah, so for me, like we've had a little bit of a chat about this before. I think I was in like a happy bubble. Nobody like showed me anything dodgy about that whole 18 months that I was involved. So when I first got an email saying like we would like you to come and be a manager for this thing, and I was like looking at my Excel sheet at the time, it's like, actually we could do with some extra money. So that's just before the recession really hit. So I went there, went to Sky, went into a room, James Murdoch was in there, and my brain just completely fried. And the first thing he said to me, "So you're the revered Odie?" And I'm like, "What the fuck's revered mean?" And I went, "Yeah," and then he carried on talking. I always remember that because I was still out in the meeting and outside of the meeting until I got home. I was like, "What the fuck does revered mean?" Anyway, so that was a good thing. So they rang back a couple of weeks later and said, "We'd like you to be the manager of Birmingham." I was like, "I want London though. What the fuck is Birmingham? I don't know anything about Birmingham." So we got Birmingham. At least I got to pick the colours, red and white. Obviously Arsenal. That's why it was red and white.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, this is how it's going to work. Watch the American season. You get to pick a team." I was thinking in my head, why aren't we at the Playboy Mansion? So I didn't go out there for any of that. So I had to watch it online, which is the first time I started watching Justin TV, because I was watching Jason Lake stream to 10 people from his hotel room, which was absolutely fascinating for me and Spades, one of the original Dig managers. We were watching it like every day, him talking, and actually got us thinking, like, imagine if we could do shows and stuff like that if this got big, this Justin TV. Anyway, and then we got to go to the Combine, which was another weird and wonderful place. Or what was it called? The Land Centre in Birmingham. Oh, what was that place called?
Oh, Amiga Sector.
Yeah.
That's where I worked.
Amiga Sector, with the fancy toilets. I always remember them. And
they weren't so fancy at the end. We didn't have the money to fucking repair them.
Yeah, so for me, it was like, hang on, they're going to pay me $5,000 a month to manage 10 players. Fuck yes, I'm in. So we did the Combine. It was quite weird because obviously they said to me, like, we want you to leave Dig and move on from Dig. And I was like, no, like, you just bought 3D and you just bought complexity. You're going to buy me too? And they said no. So I said, well, what I'll do, I'll move backwards and sideways in Dig. And we'll just won't say anything, and Newman will take over, which he did. So I used all the Dig people to like help me pick the team, plan everything. And then when we got to that Combine, I knew the UK scene inside out, so we knew what players we wanted. If only I noticed that FIFA wasn't going to be a big part of the scoring system. If I worked that out the first time, I wouldn't have been desperate trying to go for Bullard. But worked out at the time, I had the best Counter-Strike players in the world then. And that's ultimately not the first season. The second season, I went on to win it.
Yeah.
But when we went out to LA, like, it was just like we were staying in Oakwood apartments. We were treated great. We were getting subsistence money every day. I was never really involved in the back end running it, like the operations side. So I didn't know what was going on, didn't know anything about the money, what was happening, who was paying who what. The only time I questioned anything was when I think we did a shoot and they bought this giant Union Jack. There's probably a picture on the internet.
Yeah. It was quite famous. I think we had that at Gottfrag. I was at Gottfrag at the time.
Okay, and they had two guys being paid to stand there waving it, and I was thinking, hang on, they're paying you to do that. Like, how much are they paying? And they told me it's like $500, and I'm like, how much? I was like, how much was the flag? It was like $5,000, and I'm like, okay. So I was like, yeah, whatever, get on with it. I'm just here to win. So I did. And lots of great memories until suddenly I got that email, like, shut it down. I'm like, oh, fuck, what do we do?
Well, it must have just been surreal because, like you say, right? So second season comes. It's that happened in the summer. It's July 2008. It was $500,000 for the prize, which people can't conceive at that time. That is fucking mental. I mean, think about it now. It's a big prize pool now in 2022. In 2008, it's conceptually, it was like nothing we'd ever seen before. And then by November, gone, poof. Yep. So, I mean, first of all, I've got to ask, did you get all the money?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Right.
And got it quite quickly as well. Although I had to, I have a social security number in America because they withheld the tax.
Right.
Then I had to go through all the treaty stuff to get back my tax and then pay my tax here. So I got that back. But for me, when I went out there, I said to my family, like, if I win, we'll go to Disneyland. So when I got paid, that's what I did. I went down to travel agent. Who does that now? Booked Disneyland, and we stayed in the Pink Castle.
Yeah.
And that's it, because I had my daughter. Actually, when I won it that night, the 29th of July, that was my daughter's birthday. So she was 9 years old. And we had a 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. But at least I got the money.
Well,
actually got everything. I have no complaints about CGS apart from
I mean, you're one of the people who, even in retrospect, is still strangely positive about it. But I want to sort of pick your brains a little bit about the initial aftermath, because it seems to me, that look, it was so abrupt and so sudden. Like, say, I found out, so I think I'd gone back to Cadred from Gottfrag in the interim. And I got a call from Goodie, Max Silva, who's now a fucking poker player.
Yep.
And he called me up and said, CGS is dead. I went, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no fucking way. Like, it's just had its world finals. They're talking about expansion. There was the Dubai Mirage was out scrimming, and these other expansion teams that was like, meant to be happening next season. And he was like, no, I've got the email. Like, it's 100% gone. And, there were so many people that the abruptness of it all completely fucked over. I've told this story before. Red Eye had turned down a TV gig because they were going to make him vice president of the broadcast. Fuck you, essentially. You know what I mean? And you've turned down a huge gig to stay and do this. And obviously, Jason Lake found out that, now his Complexity brand is sort of in like purgatory, and can he have it back? And he's going to be stuck in contract hell for ages. I mean, it completely leveled him, because, he signed a 3-year deal to be like essentially, this popular GM with it. So
it wiped out the American scene. Got wiped out.
Yeah, dude. It killed it stone dead. And so that's before we even get into the world of players. It ended a lot of careers, because who the fuck wants to go from earning a livable salary and all the decisions you've made to go all in on this thing and not have a job? And then you're back to square one. No money, nowhere to go, no leagues to play in, no salary coming in. And so, a lot of people fucked off and got real jobs. It was seismic. So, I want to pick your brains, because you're always just sort of like looking back and going, yeah, sort of no regrets about it. They did fuck you over, mate.
Well, yeah, but luckily I refused to leave Dig. So I woke up the next day and I was back in charge of Dig. And we still had the sponsors, we had the income. Then the next catastrophe in esports was about 6 months away. And that's the recession in 2000. End of 2008, and 2009 was the worst year ever for me. But all of that money I made from CGS, apart from my prize money at the end, I put into Dig. So I was, like I said, I was getting $5,000 a month, putting that straight into the company. I was paying myself a lot less then. And if I hadn't have done that, put that money into Dig, we would not have got through 2009.
Yeah.
Even though at one point in 2009, we literally nothing in the bank, which was awkward at the time because we had 30 players at a LAN in Denmark. I couldn't pay the hotel bill. That was a nightmare.
Wow.
So they had to stay in the red rooms in Denmark. I can't remember what the LAN was. Big one, the biggest one of the year in Denmark.
Was that Copenhagen Games? Maybe.
No.
Oh no, because Copenhagen Games didn't happen until 2010. That was its inaugural one.
Yeah.
So it would have been Blast, the old Blast, or Slap.
Yeah. Slap rings a bell. Like one of those. It was really awkward, and like we just could not. There was no money in the bank, and it wasn't because we fucked up. It was because we weren't getting paid because everybody wasn't paying anyone on time in that recession. So we had like, I don't know, 20, 30 grand of outstanding invoices and no money. And my credit cards are back, so there's nothing we could do. Luckily, we got through that. That's probably the hardest personal time for me.
Sure. Well, I mean, a lot of orgs did fold in 2009. That recession, that's when you found out who was really about this shit. Like, that was, I say it all the time, like, if you're still in esports and you were there in 2009, you're either fucking insane or you really love this shit, because that year killed everything, man. There was like, imagine an industry, you know, that's so reliant on marketing and sponsorship money, you know, the throwaway crumbs of a business, and this global recession, the worst since, you know, the Wall Street crash. The first thing people do is they stop spending that money. That's the stuff off the top. That's the stuff you use for growth. That's gone. Our entire industry was sort of funded by it. And so, yeah, no one was paying anybody. And, you know, there was obligations, you know, like your players were still getting their salary. That's probably coming out of your end. That's probably coming out of your cash. So, yeah, people just packed up and fucked off. They realized it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and that was also the time when the salaries started becoming kind of normal as well. So that made it even worse. But then back then, most orgs had to pay. The biggest bill was the travel. And that was a big thing for the players then, because they didn't have to pay for any travel or hotels. And that was good for them because they got majority of the prize money. But yeah, we survived that. And then everything changed because Twitch appeared, and that's like 2010. That was like just changed everything in so many positive ways. But going back to CGS, like I've got so many stories and just funny things that happened, like just vivid in my mind because I enjoyed it so much. Like I met Kim Kardashian. I didn't know who she was. I had no idea. And I was really angry because I heard in my head on the bus going to the studio, like they said Kim Kardashian's going to be there. In my head, I heard Serge Tankian.
Right.
I was thinking, he's sort of System of a Downer there. Like, yes. And then we met her. I didn't know who she was. And that's the same time that Red Eye spilled his drink down Bobby Brown's girlfriend's chest. That was mildly amusing.
No fucking way.
That was quite funny.
Oh my God, Paul.
I got to meet Linkin Park back then.
Yeah.
Because they were looking at CGS, looking to invest. It still annoys me to this day that they invested in Immortals instead later. But we were living like right next to Venice Beach. It was just so cool. And I love it. Like between Santa Monica and Venice Beach is one of my favorite places on earth. And I'd always wanted to do stuff in Los Angeles from when I was a kid, watching Chips, if anyone knows what that is. So for me, it was like, just wide-eyed, like everything's got roses around it. This is fun.
Sure. And look, these are all cool stories, you know, and obviously, you know, people got to go to the Playboy Mansion as well. You know, I wrote that picture. Red Eye loves that photo. But here's the thing. Surely, while this is happening, you've got to be thinking this is just some executive fucking wet dream, and they're just burning through cash, and we actually don't need to be doing any of this. We don't need to be in the most expensive place to live in America. We don't need to be hobnobbing with celebrities. We don't need to host an event in the fucking Playboy Mansion. You know, I mean, surely that's going through your mind.
I have to admit, no, it wasn't.
No,
I was loving it. It was like, I really enjoyed it so much. I'm sorry. Like it's but it wasn't. And then afterwards, then I started questioning it afterwards. But that's too late by then, obviously. And then like most things, I don't look back, like I look forward, like I'm still here, and that's just my outlook on life. But yeah, if I, like I said, if I got to know, if I'd known any of the business goings on at all, yeah, I probably would have made more noise. But I really didn't care because, like I said, my main concern and my main care was Dig. So all of that money was just funneling into Dig. So I really didn't care. It was like it was almost as good as having a massive sponsor for Dig because of that, like 60 grand.
Yeah.
And that was far more important to me.
So you've obviously had a great kind of influence in UK esports down the years. We're obviously a couple of Brits, so it's probably worth talking about. I think one of the things that's definitely surprised me is it kind of feels that in the UK, esports has actually regressed a little bit and isn't as sort of prevalent as it once was. And I think this is kind of reflected in, you know, the lack of successful orgs, the lack of top tier players. You know, it definitely feels like a far cry from, I would say, 2006 to 2010, where I think like it really felt that esports was going to be a big growth industry in the UK, and we were going to produce a lot of talent, and we were going to leave our impression on the globe. Any insight or thoughts as to why that hasn't happened?
No. Again, this is why I reached out to all those UK teams when I left that big hole for them to just move in and like pick up all the sponsors. A couple have grown, but they haven't grown into massive teams like you said. XL have appeared, which is good. But that's it. There's still not a lot of like noise, and I think that obviously the last 2 years with events just completely disappearing. Like the last event I did was my CDL event at the Copper Box.
I remember that. Yeah,
January last year. So I think like the lack of events doesn't help because the events that we do have are really good. The gaming events in the UK, and now Wizzo's back now at Player One events. So you can be sure that
fucking Wizzo.
Yeah, so there should be gaming events and tournaments, but like it's the LAN stuff. There's nothing here at the moment. I think that really hurts. I think what is good right now is the university stuff. It's way bigger than it was, and I do like the stuff that NSE are doing. I like the university tournaments, the stuff. I think there is noise there, but there aren't the entrepreneurs or crazy people to go out and take a risk. And I think now, like my advice is like you need money now to do anything. So you've got to go and get like some backing. Why the UK players seem to be quiet? I think they're the odd one. There's always been the odd one or two here and there, but you're right. There aren't any massive like steps forward. I think Endpoint are doing a good job on the CS side with their team. I've been looking, like I'd love to do some more stuff with UK teams. We're just not in a position where we want to do that yet. We will with Rogue. Why, I don't know. I think, I don't know, the support is probably the main thing. I've always been trying to make noise around like getting the government to do something to support it, but it's just not, they've never ever done anything, and they've got far too much on their plate at the moment for them to even care.
I think as well, you know, like it's kind of interesting, like structurally, I'm noticing, you know, kind of a divergence in the way people think about, you know, esports products and leagues and tournaments and stuff, you know, and like, so I'm obviously from the European philosophy, which is it's, you know, open market. I can create a team tomorrow, start a bedroom org, scale it up. And the only thing that's preventing me being the next like Dignitas or the next 100 Thieves or the next G2 is my competence. Essentially, can I get the sponsors? Can I add value to the to the business? Can I scout the players? Can I get a good coach? Can I win the tournaments? And if I do all of those things and I do them all right, I'll be successful. Meanwhile, in America, what they believe is that it's almost not competence, but just investment that sort of should dictate the longevity of an org, and they all want to exist in partnership bubbles, effectively, where you cannot be relegated. You can have an entire season where you just lose, and you still get the same percentage of revenue share. And the franchising model is really prevalent because it guarantees a return of investment. All the suits I talk to say that latter model is essential if you actually want to see esports growth. All the kind of like in the trenches European managers and coaches basically think American owners are soft. So what's your thought?
So for me, I've always been a fan of franchise model. And the reason being is it's what we're playing with is somebody else's IP. And I like it when developers get involved hands-on. That's my preference.
Right.
I've been through relegation, knowing what it costs to actually do that and then get relegated, then know how much it costs you if you get relegated.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I would say that because I'm from a team owner. From outside, like other people, like for the competition, like that chance for that team to come out of nowhere, like that esports is used to in the past. I get that, but there has to be sustainability. There has to, for the investment, for the salaries to be good, for the players, for the staff, all of that. There has to be regular revenue streams. So that's why I'm a fan of the franchise system. And I like expansion. I don't like franchise systems like CGS that expand too fast, because then that's stupid. If you expand too fast, we've seen it before. You just you stretch it too thin. I don't know. Maybe what would happen one day if Valve actually said, right, we're going to franchise Counter-Strike? I don't know. Would there be a civil war? I don't know.
I mean, dude, shit would get fucking nasty real quick, and those Americans that have abandoned us would be back in a fucking hurry as well.
Yeah. So obviously, like the American scene is like hedging their bets on Valorant, and seems everybody's got a team in Valorant at the moment, and it'll probably get franchised. I would think it makes sense, but I think what those teams have proved, though, is there are a lot of teams where, if the price is right, franchising could work for Riot.
Yeah.
Will it work for the scene? Don't know. We still don't know. It's a real tough one, but like I said, I prefer the franchise idea, where there's a sustainable revenue stream system for anybody that's in it. It just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But if there are leagues out there that don't have franchising and can survive sustainably and not just like throw money after, like money on top of money and it's just burning, like, can that happen? People have got to make money. It's a business now. It's not 2004. Like, let's go out and play on Sunday and we won 20 quid at iSeries. It's big business now. So yeah, that's just my view on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I get that people want to be more business oriented, but it does also feel that we're not making money. Like I said earlier, it feels like we're looking for the golden ticket. What we're doing is we're buying all the chocolate bars, and so. Right now, I don't know what the bottleneck is and where it needs to be fixed, but I think we're going to have a real problem creating revenue streams in an industry where the fans kind of don't want to pay for anything.
Yeah, you're right, and that's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah,
but at some point, somebody's going to come up with an idea where the fans will pay for stuff, and they're going to pay for stuff. It will happen. And then it will become normal. It's like, I don't know, if you look at most trendy things, like fans will pay anything. It's like I've had the misfortune the last 2 mornings to get up ridiculously early and get in a Ticketmaster queue to get Harry Styles tickets. And I sit there looking at Twitter yesterday it crashed. Like 9:01, I was 131 in the queue yesterday.
Yeah.
And then Ticketmaster crashed. And then I refreshed and I'm 25,000 in the queue. And I'm looking at Twitter and the thousands of people willing to spend 100 quid on Harry Styles tickets. That kind of fandom, we're not there yet with esports, where they're that obsessed with like, they'll do everything they can to get in and watch us play. There has to be like, online is always going to be difficult. But when the tournaments get back to stadiums again and people want to go watch it, and also when we have games where everybody wants to watch it rather than like majority of men. And another thing, like I'm a massive fan of female leagues, because the reason being is we need those pioneering women still to create that fandom and create that like aspiration for that next girl who sees those girls playing Counter-Strike or whatever game it is and is good enough to play in whatever league, the women's league or the main league. That's what I aspire to. That's what I want to happen, because there's no reason why they can't.
Yeah, and it feels as well like we are sort of closer to that outcome. You know, Valorant seems to have done a really good job at its inception of creating a sort of space and opportunities, not just on its broadcast talent, which is, you know, again, I want to say it sort of feels like a 50-50 split, but also, you know, in the competition aspect of it, there's a number of women streamers that play at a high level. There's a number of, you know, women who are actually competing in mixed teams, women coaches, you know, so Valorant seems to have kind of like cast off some of the more archaic trappings of Counter-Strike, which is really good.
Yeah, and like I said, I've got 4 sisters, 3 daughters, my wife. I'm a massive fan, and I think I've always supported women in esports. But we're far from where it needs to be, and like I can't wait till that one girl comes through and just destroys everyone in whatever game it is.
Yeah,
and yeah. It's once that happens, then it will just be normal.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't even have that conversation.
Yeah, anymore. I've said it, man, because it's you know, it's a conversation. It's like, you know, a lot of new people want to get into it again and mix it up, and it's like, listen, you know, if you're a veteran, you know, we've been banging this drum for years. I mean, when I was a team owner, very briefly with Excite UK, you know, we had a women's team. You know, we had a women's Counter-Strike team. Obviously, I thought it was a no-brainer, you know. So, and I even did, when I was a caster, I signed up to cast all the women's leagues because I wanted to bring, you know, attention to that space. So,
and I look at the WSL at the moment. I watch that just as much as I watch Premiership at the moment.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, when is that first woman in WSL going to get signed for the main team?
Yeah.
Would that even happen?
Yeah.
Why not?
You know, we got very close to that in the NFL. There was that woman kicker that was contracted briefly. So, but look, just because we're on the downslope now, we're getting towards the end. I wanted to sort of just shift focus a little bit and talk about, you know, what games, what titles excite you, and which ones you feel are maybe a little bit past their sell-by date. And the reason I ask is because obviously, at RekTGlobal, you know, they have Rogue being in everything really, League of Legends, Fortnite, Rainbow Six, Rocket League, Apex even, and as well as that, you've got a Call of Duty team under the umbrella, which is the London Royal Ravens, and so. There's some titles that you're not in and some that you are. And so I just wanted to talk about which ones you think are going to go to the moon and which ones you think are going to kind of swirl down the toilet.
Yeah, so the games we're in at the moment, like they all have MTX. So there's all revenue being generated for Rekt. Call of Duty for me was an absolute no-brainer when I joined Rekt. I heard that no one had picked the London franchise. So when I joined, they said, like, what would you like to do? And I said, like, London Call of Duty, just absolute no-brainer to me. So we did that in the first 2 months of me joining, and like I can't wait till we go back to proper events because the UK crowd are just nuts. It's just entertainment, that's for sure. So Call of Duty for me is a big one. Warzone, I love. So I really got into battle royales. Like I said a few years ago, I played a lot of PUBG, but Warzone for me is just so cool, so good to play, and hard. Like the player, I do a lot of scouting in FPS still. I watch a lot of FPS, so Counter-Strike, Valorant. Play a lot of Warzone myself, so I'm a big fan there. Rocket League it's just fun. It's probably definitely a younger market. But
you ain't kidding about that, bro.
Yeah, but some of the players we just signed a 15-year-old for our team. And my God, they are so good. Like I wish I was that good. I can't play Rocket League. I'm crap at that game, but I like watching it. It's fun. So the games that we do now, big fan of. Obviously, that's why we have them. So my role is chief gaming officer. So I have a big say in what we do, but we need to make money. So moving forward, games that I'd like to go for, I'd love to get into FIFA again. Okay. Always been a fan of FIFA. I think it was probably one of the first people in esports to sign a FIFA player goal before even CGS came out.
You might find that not as fun as it once was because I got some friends over in the FIFA scene. And talk to them on occasion, and generally the consensus over there is that EA wants an unbelievable amount of control and influence, and yet doesn't stump up any fucking cash whatsoever. So they're wanting their cake and eat it, you know.
Well, I was even in the beginning of FIWC. I was quite loud at the time, making noise that the prize money was just to win FIWC. It was 20 grand.
So ridiculous.
So, yeah. And the players would spend all year playing every hour of the day trying to win that. So I made a lot of noise about that. Anyway, hopefully it changes. And obviously we talk to these companies. So, but FIFA, I would like to get back into again. And then Valorant. Valorant's like I'm sure we would like to get a team and like to move into it. But we need to make sure everything's in place and we get the right team and we're not burning money for no reason. So they're the problem. The games we have now and those two games, they're the ones that I'd really like to. Like, I'd love to go to StarCraft again. I would love it.
Gonna need a new version of the game. I think. Like, I don't know when we're gonna see a good RTS ever again. Honestly.
But that's what's lacking at the minute. And I think like it seems like that because I've been around so long, esports goes in cycles, and then RTS is cool again. So I hope an RTS comes along. I'd love to get back into that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there was like 100,000 people watching fucking Age of Empires or something.
Even I've been watching some of that. That's what I used to play that in the early 90s. But I was never good at RTSs, even though I did win a tournament in World in Conflict. That great game.
Fucking hell, Christ! was that a CPL? I remember them pushing that game heavily.
Yeah. So no, I won an I-Series tournament in World in Conflict, but my team won the CPL tournament.
Right.
Conflict.
Didn't Apollo used to play that?
I think he was in my team.
He was in Dignitas. Sure.
Yeah. We won that. So
fucking hell.
But it's like a big thing for me is like I was gonna do it yesterday. I was gonna like say I've done this many games, managed this many players in this many games, and I started counting it. There's so many. I gave up. So I know I've managed over 1,400 players. And got games hundreds. Dig have been involved. Even Crisis at one point. That's probably the most boring one we ever did.
Yeah, I remember. I think I went to one event and they had a Crisis tournament. I remember going to a Left 4 Dead tournament.
Yeah, we did that too. Yeah. We won that. That's so serious.
I've seen some crazy fucking like one and done esports down the years. Like.
Yeah, and it's just looking back. Like yesterday, I was like, all the people that came through Dig and they're still in esports now, and some in high up places.
Sure.
It's
an incubator for talent, not just players, but like people who've gone on to be like managers and coaches and agents. You know.
Yeah, I think I'm looking up here. So I mean, we have a channel, a Discord channel, which is old Dignitas people, and I'm just looking at some of them. I could go down the list. Demons in that channel. So so you've got casters, you've got team owners, you've got CID people, like senior police people. There's air traffic controller, one of our ex-players. There's just so many like jobs they've gone on to work for companies like HyperX and like commentators all over the place. It's like the people that are still doing commentary where I gave them a chance to get into esports, like Raz in LCS. So he was my coach in LCS. So I'm quite proud of like all of the people that we helped set up. I'm even proud of like a lot of the journalists that we helped get going as well. And yeah, even if they did get a mouse pad and a jersey. So yeah, so there's lots of stuff, lots of cool stuff that we did, and like the cool thing for me now is that it's now getting extremely interesting, especially with Rekt at the moment. What we're going to be doing in the next few years, and hopefully, like I said, the world goes back to normal. We can get to events because that's seriously lacking. I think we're very fortunate though that esports can be viewed online, and that's given eyeballs from places that probably wouldn't have looked at us if Corona hadn't come around. So yeah, so I'm optimistic as I always am.
Sure, and look, I've noticed there's you've left out the negative aspect to the question. So I'll just ask. I mean, no. Hey, don't worry about it, brother.
Games that I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, because like, well, and not just that. It's not just like if you don't like them or you know. But I mean, it feels like by way of a, for instance, Fortnite, which I was being told was going to be the biggest esport in the world, feels like Epic have really squandered a huge territorial and financial advantage, and I feel like Fortnite might have sort of had its heyday. Obviously, I don't want to put you in a weird position because you are franchised in the Call of Duty League, but not the Overwatch League, I notice. So I wanted to sort of pick your brains about, you know, the kind of esports that maybe have failed. Like, you know, for example, when Overwatch 2 comes along, would you guys be interested in expanding into that?
I think we would definitely look at the franchise option if it was there. Right now, we're not in it because we missed that. We weren't there when the franchising was starting for that. Right. So a lot of the Overwatch owners have a Call of Duty team. I think we're the only ones, maybe 2 of us, 3 of us, that don't have an Overwatch team. To be perfectly honest, Overwatch is one that I'm not personally into. I don't watch it particularly, so I need to do a lot more homework on that. I saw DJ Wheat. He got some shit in the press from his first week of streaming about what he said about Overwatch League.
Yeah, I was watching that. Yeah, watching that the other day.
Yeah, but to hear, I'm so happy he's back though. Like to hear that voice. I can't wait. I can't wait till he commentates again. He's the best commentator there is. So so I watch him a lot. The model's got to be right. It's got to be right, and there's got to be longevity. I think some of these franchise leagues, they need time to get going and they need time to get right, and they're going to make mistakes. But when you look at something like Call of Duty, that was an absolute no-brainer. Like I said, because it's been around so long and it crosses like popular culture.
Yeah. Although, you know, I did see, first of all, there's some frustrations that they're not syncing up the release of the game with the seasons. And I also saw that viewership was kind of like worryingly down, you know, at the start of this season.
I heard that. I agree. I wish so obviously this version of the game came out in October. Yeah, if we could play in November, great. Because now the league doesn't start until February. So we're getting ready for that now. In terms of numbers though, I watched the tournament last weekend and they look way up to me on what they were.
Right. Yeah, I saw it. It was a report. I think it was on Esports charts, you know, that they and it was like it was a comparison on like the opening day of the season to the previous season. I think it was like 120 and it was down to like 80 at the peak on day 1.
Okay. Well, we'll find it out.
Yeah.
4th of February. So next week the season actually starts. So last weekend was just a warm-up tournament.
Yeah,
really. Touch wood, we do all right there.
Yeah.
But for us, like people seem to forget there was like a global pandemic last year. Well, there still is.
Yeah.
So last year was an absolute night. It's probably the worst year since 2009 for me personally, because we have a British team.
Yeah.
Based in America.
Travel's been fucking nightmarish, dude. I obviously had to travel with the major, and that has put. I said when I got back, I'm like, I don't care what the opportunity is, I ain't flying till all these restrictions and everything are lifted till this shit's done, because that was insane. I had like 30 minutes to like bundle together some fucking paperwork to promise I was going to do a PCR test. I had to tell a KLM employee in fucking Sweden or wherever it was that I solemnly swear I will take a PCR test when I get back into the UK to even be allowed on a fucking plane. Like, what's it got to do with this cunt? You know what I mean? I was like, and like they were saying, like it wasn't just like one form; it was like 2 forms, and then you got to get a QR code. You have to show that when you get back. By the way, at any point, if anything is checked and it's not correct or accurate, you just don't get let into the country. It's like, holy shit! So yeah, stressful as fuck, and that's just one dude traveling just to come home, you know?
Yeah, so for me, it's just absolute nightmare because we couldn't get our players in. So we signed players, we couldn't get appointments at embassies because the embassies had shut.
Yeah.
Then travel ban to America. So the team that we had out there, it was just patching it up the whole season. And still, I see even analysts in the game now saying, "Oh yeah, London were doing all these changes," and then they forget to add that, "Oh yeah, because of coronavirus." So we even had like we got one of our coaches in by sending him to Mexico. So he went there for 2 weeks in a 5-star hotel in Cancun. So
nice.
But he was in his room and just hotel pool. That was it.
Yeah.
And then he got his test. Got into America, and he got to America, and they went, "Oh, this doesn't even mean anything. This test is, but we'll let you in." So that was it. We had even this time we got our team in, but then we couldn't get appointments in London until April to get a visa. So we had to send one of our guys to the Dominican Republic.
Fuck, you know.
So we had a security guard with him because he's only 19. Got his visa. So anyway, this year we have a team in and they're good. So touch wood, we have a British success story in the Call of Duty League. But going back to what you said, so yeah, there's criticism. There's always criticisms about every single league, like there always is. But as long as they actively look to fix these problems, there's only 12 teams at the moment. I need more. I want 5-6 teams in Europe because I don't want my team in Europe. I don't want to be in America.
Yeah,
I've had my team based in London, so we can activate here and we can compete here.
And so, you know, do you feel developers are receptive to the feedback? Because yes. I feel that one of the ongoing problems in esports is developers want to do it their way all of the fucking time. And, you know, I mean, dude, I know you've been in these rooms and had these conversations. When you explain it to them why something won't work, and you're leveraging 10 years of expertise, 20 years of expertise, you know what you're talking about. And they just look at you with a blank stare and go, but what we think is.
I think this league, I think the franchise leagues are completely different now. Like Riot, Activision, like they listen. And yeah, some things can be changed, some things can't. Some things they'll listen, some things they'll try their way. I think it's still too early to actually judge any of this, but at the end of the day, what we need to do is have the teams competing and the fans watching them. That's the main thing. So I do agree, like hopefully next year the league starts quicker, because there's too much dead time for the players. I'd like more challenger stuff actually. I think what Riot have done really well is like the whole ecosystem around challenger stuff, especially in Europe. If you look at the smaller leagues, like for Rogue, for example, the players that we've been signing coming out of challengers, and then they're into the main team, like Trimby, for example. I like that stuff. So again, I'll go back to the optimistic stuff. I really see no point in moaning about stuff unless I've always said to all of my guys that work for me, just don't give me problems, bring me solutions. If there's a problem, let's fix it. And if people don't try that and just moan about it, like, yeah, pointless.
So to wrap it up, what's next on the agenda for you? Any moves going to be happening? Any, are you going to be at any tournaments, any developments that you're going to be engaged in?
I can't wait till we get back to traveling. Although, to be honest, I did enjoy a year of not traveling. There are a few things I would have liked to have gone to, like the same for you, the Esports Awards. Actually watched back the lifetime achievement bit of that yesterday. That was on because I didn't see it the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to get to some of the events again. I'd love to have CDL at Wembley Stadium or Wembley Arena because that would just be like banging. I think that's what the kids say. But I'm 50 now, so that's why I haven't been traveling. I'm getting old.
Yeah.
So for us, it's just building on what we have, building on what RekTGlobal are doing all over the place. Like one thing I didn't mention about RekTGlobal, like the TikTok stuff that we do. It's just it's mind blowing, that stuff. But anyway, back to the competitive side. No, just I want to compete and I want to win tournaments. I'm so pleased our league team are touch wood doing all right. So we play Fnatic tonight. So hopefully we beat my ex-teammate Sam Matthews and we go top of the league. That'd be nice.
Well,
so yeah, no, I'm just doing what I do. I've been doing what I've been doing the last 23 years, like just managing teams, and that's it. That's all I really want to do.
You ever think about retiring?
No, not at all. All I think about is I've only had 128 world champions. I need more.
Well, listen, mate, it's been great to shoot the shit with you, and I hope everyone that's watching kind of goes and checks out what you're doing over at RekTGlobal. As I said, it really surprised me when I actually started looking at all the names, and I'm like, fucking hell, I know her, I know him. Haven't hung out with that person in ages, so it's got
one we just added. Sorry, is Cat Gun.
Oh yeah, fuck.
So Cat Gun is now my North American general manager.
Yeah, it's been a real trip down memory lane. So I want to thank you for your time and obviously wish you all the best. And hopefully we got into some topics that people listening found compelling. And there it is. So yes, go and support Odie and RekTGlobal. I've known him a long, long time. He's actually a huge supporter of the channel. He, as you saw, he buys merchandise. He even subs to the channel. So show him some love. And that is the episode of the Richard Lewis Show in the bag. We'll be doing another episode soon, as always. I don't know when, I don't know who, but it will be a banger. So make sure you tune in. And until then, take care of yourself.